Hi, I'm Annie. I was asked to do this yesterday, so if I'm a bit sporadic, just bear with me. We'll get there. I work at Dice. We're a tech startup based in Haggerston. I worked there for about 2 years, and I'm going to be talking a bit today about 3 different features we have in the app that we've built, tested, how we've basically designed them, and how we constantly try and improve our app. So, first a bit about Dice, what we're doing. We're trying to build the world's most loved platform to discover and attend events. That's quite an ambitious goal, but we're trying to get there one bit at a time. I think with goals like these, and when it comes to what your company is actually doing, you have to kind of take it step by step, but you have to have a really ambitious goal. Our main kind of thing is that we're trying to get people to go out more. So we're trying to get people off their sofas, off Netflix, go and experience live events, whether that's a gig or a cultural thing, could be film screenings, could be a vegan nights, which is a partner we work a lot with. So we're trying to get people out more, and we believe in that so much that after Christmas we put it on a big billboard on Broadway Market that said 2019, you need to get out more, and that's my boss Patrick. He's a great guy, and he was like pumped for this billboard, so he went and took a photo of it. So what we're actually trying to do is that we're trying to build magical experiences to help people get out more, because I think in a lot of areas things have become a lot simpler. For example, Uber is a good example. Instead of calling a minicab and booking it and waiting for it to arrive, you just have an app and everything's super easy. Airbnb is another good example. You don't search for 50 hotels in Gran Canaria. You just go and find a couple of Airbnbs you like, send it to your friends, and you're like, hey, let's book this one, and it's all done. But when it comes to live events, that hasn't really happened yet. It's so hard to find something to go to and to book it, and then you have to put in all your information about your card, and then you have to go and find friends to go with, and then you have to pay for it, and then there's those booking fees on top, and it's super, super, super difficult, and it should not be that difficult to get a ticket to go to an event. So we're trying to fix that. And we do that through a combination of data and design. What that actually means is that our design decisions are heavily informed by the data we collect. It means that we don't design an amazing feature right off the bat and that's, oh my god, this is 100% done. We constantly try and improve our designs through the data that we collect. So we'll release something to 1,000 people to see how it goes, and then we'll kind of build on that. So I'm going to go in depth into 3 different features that we've actually made. We collect this data through interviews, research, support issues, live experiments. There's lots of ways of collecting it. A lot of it's just people who tweet us. They're like, yo, this is shit. What is this shit? And we're like, great, amazing. Let's go figure out how we can fix that. A lot of it is user research. We have constantly people coming in, both people who contact us and just say, hey, I would really like to talk about this thing, or people who just don't even use the app. We're like, hey, if you use this, would you use it? Why would you not use it? And we test features that way. And that user research informs our roadmap, how we work on the product, what new features to build, which features to improve, and where the experience is going wrong, where the drop-off rate is, why people are not buying tickets, why people are not going out, where's the pain points in the user experience in our product. So I'm going to talk about 2 things first really shortly, and that is event filtering and friends. These are 2 features that we currently have in app. The event filtering we've had for a long while. Friends is something we built pretty recently. So I'm going to show you how to improve on a feature and how to build a feature from scratch. I'm going to talk about event filtering first. So this is our app. It's pretty snazzy. The filtering is up there, and then when you go into that menu, you get this. Basically, it's super handy. It means that if you want to find something tonight, you can go and be like, I want to go to some comedy tonight, put in today, put in comedy, and all the events will show up. Really handy feature. However, no one was using it, which is a massive problem. And that was because they didn't know that we had it. They couldn't find it. So we had built this feature and we're like, oh my god, this is going to be amazing. Everyone's going to use this and it's going to be great. And then it just wasn't working. So we need to figure out why that wasn't working and how to make it easier. So we did this. It's not a massive change at all. It's a very small change. All we did is we added the quick filters. So you could, we added the quick filter. So all you could do is that you could click tomorrow or this weekend. It's not a massive change. You can still filter by more if you want to. And then we did an A/B test on this. So, why did we run that experiment? Well, we wanted to gain true insight about the performance of that feature. We wanted to know if people were actually going to use it, because we had no idea. We just built it in like a few days just to see how it worked out. Everything's always like that. You just like build something and then you just kind of like throw it out there and see what happens. We didn't want to commit to something that was super, super large and massive, really like took a lot of time and energy from the designers, the developers, the product managers, if it wasn't going to be successful. And then once we knew more, we could even design something that would have been even better because we already had the data of that user testing. And it was a success. We saw an increase in sessions for users looking for something to do. So people were actually using these filters. And we actually saw an increase in users finding events that they were interested in, which is a much better than we had it before, because people weren't filtering and suddenly they had a really easy way to filter for something to do tomorrow night or something to do this weekend. So that's an example of how we've improved an existing feature. The next one I'm going to talk about is friends. So essentially we built this because we thought it was really difficult for people to get in touch with people about an event. You can share it, but you have to go into Messenger, you have to go into WhatsApp. There's no like easy way of just sending an event to a friend. And also we found out this because, this is so sad, we did a testing on why people didn't go to an event, and the first reason was not having money. I mean, I can't really do much about that. But the second reason was not having someone to go with. And that was super, 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 super sad. So we were like, let's do something about that. So basically, we believe that it's our mission to empower users to go out, and it's like our calling to solve any issues from that journey, because we want to make everything super smooth and super easy. So even though we knew that was a big project, because it was a feature we didn't already have, we couldn't say no to that possibility, because it would have been it would have had such an impact on how people interacted with the app. So we removed the hurdle of finding and contacting people to go out with, and how we did that was, I'm going to get into that later actually. Well, what does success look like? That's basically what you need to figure out before you build something. Why are you building it? The first thing we wanted to do was to have a lot of users have at least one friend on Dice, have at least one person they could send events to. We wanted those invitations to lead to ticket purchases, because we wanted people to actually go to those events. And then we also wanted the trending with friends rail to lead to ticket purchases, essentially a rail in Discover, where you see what your friends are interested in. And we wanted that to be like, I found this event, I want to go to this event. This person is also going to go to this event, let's go to that event together. So we introduced this, and all it is on the event, it says, your friends might be interested in this, or someone has invited you to this, or do you want to invite someone to this? And we essentially try to cater this to two types of people. There's the slackers, and then there's the people who are the organizers. So some people, everyone has that person in their friend group who are like, hey, let's go to this. For me, it's her. And then there's people who are super passive, who are like, yeah, sure, I'll go to that. So this kind of caters to both of those people. And yeah, it basically looks like this. That's someone you've invited, that's someone you can invite, and that's someone that hasn't invited you. And it's also a great way to kind of bring friends groups together. You might have different friends groups, so you're like, okay, that person from that group wants to go to that, let's introduce them to this people. And that's the rail in Discover. So this is my actual rail. All of my friends want to go to the Love Box and Fortet, which one of them I'm interested in, one of them I'm not interested in. But I could go into that event, see that someone I knew was interested in that, and we could go together. So what's the future of that feature? I have no idea. I don't know, because it hasn't been live yet. We usually test features like this for about a month, and then see where we're at. It's also easier speaking to someone face-to-face if you have a dedicated person at the company whose sole job it is to just be on the user side. He's team user, and if the CEO is I want to do this, and he's nah, that's kind of the law. Because then you have a person who's just dedicated to the user. Lastly, I'm going to talk about stories. This is a feature that we released right before Christmas. I was really involved in this, and I'm going to talk a bit about how we massively messed up with this, which is great, but we fixed it, it's fine now. When we decided that we were going to do stories, I was like, okay, first we need to think about what stories are. What are they? What do we think about stories? What do we want to take, and what do we want to get rid of? When I think of stories, I think of this, Instagram stories. So you have a rail at the top with all these stories, and they're in like prioritized order. And then you have stories at the top of people's profiles, and they look like this, and they can be from many different people. But it's essentially like a short video that just cuts through to the next one. It seems kind of like weird to be like, what are stories? Well, obviously stories are stories, like you just know what it is. But like, if you can just take a step back and look at something, that'll actually inform your decisions as well. So like, if you're trying to think of a feature, don't think of it as like how you use it, but like what it actually is. I watch like different kinds of stories. I watch my friends. That's Josie. She's the office manager at Dice. I also watch Cardi B and other celebrities, obviously. Have to, stay in the know. And then I watch brands that I like. They do like ads and stuff, but also you can follow them. If they have a sale, it's a great way of like getting to know what's happening. Also memes, obviously memes. News outlets, different things you're interested in. What's going on in your local area is great. That's a venue in Hackney that I really like. And in between that, it's kind of like scattered with ads, which is interesting because you have to think about, why do they have ads? Does that apply to me? Things like that are really important to think about. And then you have to take a step back again. You have to be like, well, okay, that was Instagram stories, but what are actually stories? So they started with Snapchat in 2013, and then Instagram adopted them in 2016. But since then, all these companies have adopted them as well. Why is that? Well, they were really successful. Are people using them though? Is anyone using Facebook stories currently? Does anyone here use Facebook stories? No. One person? Wow. One person. But like not a lot of people use them. So what is like the key to Instagram's success, right? So, okay, we knew we were going to make stories. What's the start of that? Well, we had all this content on the blog. And the blog was quite well read. It's a Medium blog. And we had quite a lot of people reading it and, finding events through it. So we needed to kind of convert that into like a digital space that lived in the app. So this is what we came up with in the very beginning. It was in Discover. So at the very top. And it had different kind of like types of stories. And we had the artist in the thumbnail, had the name of the kind of franchise underneath, had the name of the artist inside. And we were like, oh my god, this is sick, amazing. And then we opened it, it looked like this. So we would introduce you to new up-and-coming artists that we really liked. It's a guy called Kojak, he's an amazing Irish rapper. And we talked a bit about like who they were, what they were doing, why we liked them, what they said about their own music, what we said about their music. We also had another franchise called Q&A, where we'd ask random artists random question. It was great, with a good read. And then we did like random one-offs just to see how they performed. So this is one about the best gigs we went to in 2018. We had another one where fans would write in about an artist they really liked that they would recommend to someone else and why they love them so much. However, we had a big problem, and that was that no one was viewing them, which was trash because we spent so much time and energy developing like the concepts of the franchise, talking to these artists like press agents, building the feature, constantly producing content for it, and no one had any idea what it was. One guy at a user testing session said, I don't know what they do. Why are they smaller than the other events? I'm not sure I'll click it. So not even did he like not understand what it was, he just thought it was events. So massive, like not good at all. So we made a change. Very subtle change, but it's actually not that subtle a change. There's a few things we changed. The first thing was making it circles. Circles are here to stay. We can't avoid the circles. They're here. We also made them more colourful. People really like colour. That's like a thing that keeps coming up in user testing. They're like, oh, it's colourful. I like it. It's nice. We also like cut them out, put like weird names underneath instead of like a boring like this is the franchise. We just made them a bit more exciting. And this is kind of what we came out with of that. So we made everything video as well instead of just like still on still on still. People really like engaging content. I mean, animated content is kind of a lot more engaging, especially if it has sounds. It's kind of more like sensory. I think we started with text because of the blog. We assumed that it was going to be like a blog about a story, but like kind of like in the middle, and it just didn't work out. So then we started producing less content but higher quality content. So the Q&A turned into this. We made two different things. One of them was just pure text with a video in the background so you could actually hear the artist while you were reading. The other one is almost like comedy. It's basically like a phone interview with an artist, and we would put like GIFs and ugly fish and lots of like stuff in there, so people could just have like a quick like get to know session with a band we really liked. We developed a franchise called This Week, which is essentially the best event we have on DICE every single day of the week. It comes out on Monday, goes all the way through Sunday. It's like our best recommendation of the week. We also did DICE Live and Asking For It, which is an artist that has had a gig that we've gone and filmed, and we said like, hey, why are you so great? What's so amazing about you? And like showed some of their music and why they love performing live to get people more involved in the live music scene. And Asking For It, where we asked random fans outside venues, who were, most of them were very drunk, random questions about anything from Brexit to are you two a couple on Valentine's Day, which was a lot of fun. So we had a couple of lessons we've learned from like developing all these features, and I want to go into them because I think if you start framing all your designing in that context, you can avoid a lot of mistakes. The first thing was like, don't be precious. Like, do not be precious. If you make something and you think it's amazing, and a user is like, this is trash, it's trash. I'm sorry, like it just is. Because you might like it, but at the end of the day, if you like it, but 1,000 users are like, I hate this, it might be good for like a certain small number of your user base, but like it's not worth your time or your energy at all. So just don't be precious about it. Be like mentally prepared to just be like ripped apart. The second one is always evolve. If you have like a wild idea about something, just like do a mini experiment. It can be as easy as like going to a friend and be like, hey, if we had this thing here and then just like make a drawing, would you use that? And then if they're like, yeah, that looks amazing, continue with it and then like constantly improve it. Like just have a wild idea and like even just float an idea to your mates, because if you have a colleague who says something to you and you're like, that's a horrible idea, but what if we did like this? You can kind of evolve it together. It's very collaborative, like you were talking about. It's all about like having an idea that might just not be ready, but you kind of need to like, it just needs to be like babied a little bit and then we get there. And also use the data. It's smarter than you. The data is always smarter than you. Even in user testing sessions, we've had things like, oh, I really love this story, and then no one's actually viewing it. So the data is different from what people tell us in user testings. So try and like actually look at the hard data a lot, and like try and get people who are honest about their feedback, because that'll make you smarter. Also get in touch. We're constantly hiring. We're hiring a lot of people. We're expanding. We're international now. So if you're interested in working at DICE, please get in touch at talent@dice.fm. And that's my talk. Thank you.